How important would a prisoner have to be for gang members in France to slam their vehicle into a van full of guards in broad daylight, immediately open fire, risking everything to help that prisoner flee the authorities?
Massive manhunt underway in France for an escaped inmate after a brazen ambush on a prison van.
2 of those guards escorting the prisoner were killed right then and there. 3 others were injured, 1 fighting for his life. And what's crazier than the fact that this ambush took place in broad daylight against armed prison staff is the fact that police either don't know or aren't saying who is behind it, and they're not sure where the escaped prisoner is, or if he's even still inside the country.
The fugitive inmate has 13 prior convictions dating back to 2009.
On est choqués, blessés, on est en colère, on est attristés.
So what happened, and why was everyone caught by surprise? Mohamed Amra is known as La Mouche. That's French for the fly. He's a criminal, well known to police, arrested, tried, and convicted 13 times for a whole range of offenses, from assault to theft to extortion. His rap sheet goes back to when he was just 15 years old. Most recently, he was convicted of burglary just a few days ago, and at the time of his escape was facing an indictment on kidnapping and murder-related charges. So let me lay this out for you. Everything happened in Normandy, which is northwestern France. Amra appears in court on Tuesday in Rouen, but his prison, where he's heading back to, is in Évreux, which is about an hour's drive south. For transport, he hops into a large white prison van. He's what's called a level 3 escort, which means he's assigned at least 3 prison staff to ensure that he gets from A to B safely. The morning of the ambush, he'd have 5. Except things don't go according to plan. About halfway along Highway 13, the prison van stops at a toll booth. This toll booth. That's when a black Peugeot, apparently waiting for the van to arrive, drives head-on into it, holding it in place. Masked men jump out, armed with what appear to be automatic weapons. They start firing. Prison guards with handguns and bulletproof vests fire back, but there's no police. They didn't request police protection, and it's not a fair fight.
Des hommes munis d'armes longues en sont descendus, rejoints par d'autres hommes armés descendus d'un véhicule Audi.
So this is important to know, and I'll translate here. The French prosecutor is talking about heavily armed men, certainly better armed than the prison guards. Ils sont descendus, rejoints par d'autres hommes armés. They were joined by other armed men in another vehicle, an Audi. That vehicle, she would go on to say, she believes was following behind the prison van, maybe the whole time, and we'll see evidence of that in just a moment. So there's a firefight. At one point, one of the gang members tries to set the black car on fire, and we see Mohamed Amra, that's reportedly him in the white sneakers, taken out of the prison van. All the suspects flee towards their second vehicle behind the van, and moments later, we see that white Audi peel away.
It is really something that the French are shocked with, because the cold bloodedness with which they killed 2 people and could have killed 3 more.
We later learned that the black vehicle was stolen. 2 other cars, including the white Audi, were found nearby, believed to have been used by the criminals, also found scorched in 2 different locations. France has not had one of its prison staff shot to death in more than 30 years. According to France's interior minister, some 450 police officers have mobilized in what they call an unprecedented search for both Mohamed Amra and those who helped him escape. The president of France wrote online, "Tout est mis en œuvre." Everything is being done to find the perpetrators of this crime so that justice can be done. He also called the attack a shock, which might also describe how the lawyer of the escaped prisoner feels. He told French media, "For me, this plan doesn't match with what I know of him. If he's behind it, then I fail to understand who he is." High-level officials have said this level of violence doesn't match up with Amra's criminal profile. But you can also find headlines calling him a drug boss and a drug lord. He's never been convicted of any drug-related offenses, but to be the subject of such a brazen prison break, he clearly matters to someone. And this would have taken a lot of planning to pull off. From knowing Amra's court schedule, his route, securing the stolen vehicles, carrying out the ambush, the escape, burning the evidence, and perhaps even fleeing France itself. The country's interior minister spoke of securing international cooperation in this investigation, which may hint at the possibility that the suspects have already left the country.